Please don't smell like fuel. Please don't smell like fuel. It's pretty much impossible that you don't smell like fuel after that stuck open injector. There we go. Oh, it's so nice and clean. I was expecting it to smell like a little bit of fuel, and it does, but it's not that bad. Goodbye $50 worth of oil. I gotta say, this thing does not drain quick enough. One of these days, this guy's just gonna topple over. Welcome back to another episode of Legit Street Cars. I don't know how long I can look at the camera and pour this at the same time, but we are back on the twin turbo Mercedes V12, and I know it's been a very long time since I've made a video on this car, and I'm not gonna bore you with going over the reasons why, like the giveaway cars that I'm trying to get ready for the holidays, fixing up the shop, my pickup truck, and a bunch of other stuff. Instead of basically rattling off excuses, I'm just getting right to work. We are working through everything, no fluff, just work, and we're getting this CL65 on the road in this video. This is gonna be the first drive. We're probably gonna run into some issues along the way. Who knows, it's been apart forever. But anyway, that's enough. I can't believe I even stopped that long to talk. We gotta keep on going here. So I'm gonna be buttoning everything up. We're gonna hear this thing run. We're gonna go for a cruise. This foil is made of kryptonite. Okay, there we go. So sit back, relax, enjoy, popcorn, drinks, the whole 9 yards. I don't know if this is gonna be a long one or not. It might be, but enjoy the video. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Oh, and if you're thinking, Alex, how much could you possibly have left to do? The engine is in, it runs, the transmission is installed, the exhaust is installed. Let's take a look at the parts table. Or let's start off at the parts floor. We have the brakes and the air boxes and all of these parts here. We have a ton left to do, and this doesn't paint the entire picture because the CL65 has hydraulic suspension. Hydraulic suspension that's been empty for months, so we have to bleed that out. I'm hoping we can perform a rodeo, so we'll see this car dance, maybe. And we have to bleed out the intercooler system. Each one of these just by themselves is a big pain in the butt to do, and we have to do both. But anyway, way too much talking. Let's get back to work. Okay, so I just wrapped up a bunch of odds and ends that I had already put back together when the engine was out of the car. And I think this is the last part of it, really. So this is the brains for the ignition right here. And if I remember correctly, this bracket goes right here. It's like deja vu here, people. All right, we'll plug this guy in. Vacuum tube is on. Everything's looking good. Everything's plugged in. Okay. Next up, I have the two pipes that connect the turbo to the intercooler. And they have an O-ring inside and then a little horseshoe clamp like this. And you can see how this clamp works. Snug it up right there. And then we're going to tighten up this bolt. All right, and I don't like to go all the way just yet because we might need to manipulate this a little bit to fit the intercooler on. And getting these top mount intercoolers on really starts to make this V12 engine look complete. Under the beauty cover, this is what you see, and they look kind of cool. So we just gotta slide this end right there. Okay, that's on. I'm gonna leave this loose also because we have to get the Y piece for the throttle body that connects these two. So I like to connect everything before we tighten up these bolts. Okay, so second charge pipe going on, and das Intercooler going on. Yes, this engine's getting taller. Not a bad time to connect the coolant tubes back here also. We have like 8 connections we have to make basically at the same time in order for all of this to fit. Come on now. And now we have the throttle body connection. This thing is hard plastic. Basically, oh wait a minute, it's missing a clamp. You need to have clamps. Clamps are good. Where did that guy go? I found it! You guys ever lose something right when you're trying to make progress? You're getting somewhere. It took me 10 minutes to find this clamp. So frustrating. It's like the 10 mil. But at least the 10 mil, you might have like a few of those in reserve. I don't have that many of these specific Mercedes clamps. I don't have any, to be honest with you. Anywho, enough clamp talk. Let's get this guy on there. Get on. All right, violence is necessary to a certain extent here. You gotta get tough. You gotta get tough with these plastic throttle body connections on these. They'll take advantage of you. Get on there. There we go. Next, we have clamps galore, probably about a dozen of them between the coolant hoses and the intake clamps. So we'll squeeze these guys over. Oh, went a little too far. Back up, back up, back up. There we go. Okay, after I put these air boxes on temporarily, we are going to be right where we left off before I had the issues with the fuel injector getting stuck open. And I don't know about you guys, but I just want to hear this thing again. It's been a month for me too, guys. This is the first time I've been out here since we figured out that the engine was okay. But before I go any further, I just want to hear it again. All right, we're just placing these back. All right, plug these sensors in. There are air sensors, boost sensors everywhere on this car. It's pretty nuts. It's fired up. I love you. I love you, V12. It's so smooth. It's so nice. No misfiring. I could go to sleep on this thing. Idle down. Give me a little growl there. All right, let's shut it off. Woo! Simmer down, buddy. Okay. All right. We don't have any coolant in the V12 yet, so I'm not going to leave it running, but it seems to be running really, really well, and that I wasn't too nervous about. What I am a little nervous about is once we fill this thing up with coolant, if you guys remember, we had to weld the cylinder head, and it was right underneath the coolant jacket, so that's going to be the big test, I think, going forward in this video. All right, guys, we are rocking and rolling now, although it doesn't look that way because I'm taking the air boxes back off, but that is going to give me more room to install a reservoir right here and one right here. So one is for the coolant on that side, and this one is for the ABC system, and we have a wire that runs all the way across the engine. Got to remember exactly what this is for. Actually, no, that harness does not go across the engine. It comes right down here on the passenger side and connects to this ABC valve block with the accumulator, the things you forget when you take months to do a project. So this we might as well just install right now. And that table is looking pretty bare over there. We only have a few more parts to install. My wife has been asking about that thing for quite some time now. We use that table for parties, or we used it for parties. I don't know if anyone's ever gonna wanna like eat at that thing again. It's kind of gross. Probably hit up Costco on our first drive and buy a new table. All right, on second thought, I probably should have installed this banjo bolt with this valve block already down, or at least started it. But I think we can still do this without me having to take this down again. Oh, there we go. I sacrificed the glove here, but we got it. We got it. Now, I highly recommend that when you guys rip apart your own V12 engine on your hydraulic suspension equipped European car, that you replace all of the seals in the hydraulic suspension system. So right in here, there are two seals, one on top, one on bottom. They're green, and those are new because this is under a lot of pressure and I don't want any leaks. Unlike air suspension, when these things go out, they get fluid everywhere and you are definitely stranded. Fun fact, we actually did have a block party and I did use this table. I cleaned it up, put a tablecloth over it, and it was practically like new. Got a new leak here from the power steering reservoir, but that'll clean up too. And I'm just over here for this. See? See? It's getting bare. While we're down here, I'm gonna install the lower radiator hose. And that means we are one step closer to some coolant in this engine. I basically have to do the coolant hoses and tubes and the ABC stuff at the same time because if we're gonna run a belt on this engine, we need both. We don't want either one of them to be empty. So that goes there. This goes here. Let's hear a nice click. Give me a good click. Come on. Go to your home. Go to your home. You're just supposed to slide on. You slide off, you slide on. Come on, where is stuff? All right, I'm lubricating this seal. Let's go. Yes, yes, I did it. I installed a hose. onto a radiator. Woo! Now getting that hose on was quite the achievement, but not nearly as exciting as reeling in today's catch, playing Fishing Clash. Come on, come on, come on. All right!
Fishing Clash is a mobile game that takes you fishing all around the world, like the Amazon River, where I battled a discus ray and won.
Playing is super fun and easy. Just cast out your line and get prepared for a fish fight. I'm gonna win, I'm gonna win. You know I'm gonna win. You know I'm gonna win. Here we go, here we go. Whoa, what is that? We got a shark! This is one of the best ones!
Level up by upgrading your rods and learning to pick the right lure to catch an endless variety of fish. Build your collection and go head-to-head with other fishers in different events every week.
The game is free on iOS and Android, and after you're done downloading it, use code FISHWITHALEX to get $20 worth of special rewards, including a 3-star rod to get more bonuses, 1 mythical lure to catch more fish, a Florida Pro license to increase your speed for more points, and a 30-weight power-up to catch those really big V12 engined size fish. So make sure to click on my link in the video description box to download Fishing Clash and start your fishing adventure today. A big thanks to Fishing Clash for continuing to support automotive content creators like myself. Now, let's get back to some more V12. All right, now it's time for a massive ABC line. And this thing has a very weird connection point to the subframe. Let me show you this. You guys probably never seen anything like it. So this is some Eurocar madness. This attaches like this, right on the subframe. How does it do it, you may ask? Well, on this side, we're gonna install this block. There's another one for this side as well. And this literally sandwiches in between the subframe. So this guy is gonna go in here, hello, and then you bring this guy up to it, like so. It's not easy. It is definitely not easy. I'd like to think they could have thought of something much easier than this, but welcome. Welcome to my channel, where we work on European cars that are a little weird. This is actually really hard to do. You kind of got to hold the block with your middle finger and start this here, and then it doesn't work at all, and you just get upset, and then end up just zip tying this entire thing through the subframe because this is ridiculous. Germans, Mercedes. Come on now, what is this block thingy you've invented? Jeez. Okay. Never mind, Germans. I'm just a good old boy from the Midwest. I figured it out. You got to be smarter than the block. So I've installed both of them, and we can actually just slide it over. So I take it back. Best designed clamp in the world. I couldn't see it being done any other way. Now we just tighten it. It's pretty solid. It's actually pretty nice. Probably necessary because of the really high pressure system. So anyway, engineers know better than I do. Good job. All right, next up, we are gonna start reinstalling the reservoirs. We have actually 3 to do. This is a power steering reservoir. This is for the ABC hydraulic fluid, and then we have the coolant reservoir as well. And because our ABC pump basically exploded and got oil everywhere, everything is nasty. So I'm cleaning this up before we go back in because it's all oily and disgusting. All right, I've cleaned up the tanks a little bit, and now we're gonna sacrifice just a little bit of this pretty expensive fluid because I just wanna flush these tanks out. I don't think when the pump went bad, it let loose any metal or anything in the system. It was just wobbling and leaking on the outside, and there was no glitter or anything like that. But since we're doing a complete flush and replacing the filters, we're gonna give it a little shake, and there we go. And it's still looking pretty clean. That just makes me feel better. Now we're gonna have a completely fresh power steering and ABC system. And this is something that a lot of people overlook when they own cars like this because Mercedes didn't come out with a maintenance interval. There are 2 filters, which you guys are gonna see in a minute, and the fluid. I recommend changing them every 3 years. I think that really extends the life of the entire system. It's very expensive. You don't need it failing prematurely. And if you bring this to a shop, it might be like a $500-ish flush. I think it's still worth it. Okay, so here is the ABC filter and here is the power steering filter. The process to replace these is the same, so I'll just show you on this one. But basically, all we need to do is push up on this spring, or you can rest it on the table, and twist. And you'll see here that there is a hook right there, and it latches on on the inside. Kind of difficult to see, but there you go. There's a little hole there. So at this point, we're gonna pull this out, pop this cap off, and there you go, identical filters. So then all we're gonna do is slide that right back in, get this guy ready to go, push it down, and hook it. There we go. And you swapped out your ABC filter. So very easy to do. If you don't want to spend the money to get the entire system flushed at a shop, you can do it at home. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to do something that's better than nothing, swap out your filter. You can do it probably in about 10 minutes. And this guy just sits right in here. So you just put it right back in the reservoir and just tighten it down. That's it. And before we install the reservoir, let's make this AC line connection. I've already connected the one on the bottom, and we have all new seals for the AC lines as well. That way we don't have any leaks later. I don't know if the AC worked. The defrost was working, so it was working to some extent. But the last time I drove this car was during a winter storm. And if you guys haven't seen that video. All right, so it is roughly -3 degrees right now. I'm just gonna take a look at the connections for the coil. I'll link it down below. It was quite the adventure. All right, you don't need to go nuts when tightening AC lines. Just snug like that is more than enough. All right, time for the reservoir. One of them. Okay. There we go. Nice. Just like I remember. This is starting to look much more complete now with this guy. And, okay. All right, with this reservoir installed, we can go back in with the air box for real this time. Next up is the coolant reservoir on this side. There we go. Okay, that clamp is on. This one is much easier than doing the ABC reservoir. Not that that's really hard. That gets pushed down. Okay, we have our 10. Zippity-doo-dah. That clamp is on. Everything looks pretty good. All right. I think it's time for this guy right here. Sorry, this way? Yeah, there we go. That makes more sense. Got it on. It's one of those things you gotta hold while I get the bolts going. Perfect. Click, click, click. And click. And click. That's good. Ah, I thought I lost this clamp. It was underneath the table on the ground. Oh yeah. Can't get away from me, clamp. You are not gonna slow this project down. That is for sure. There we go. All right, with all of the coolant hoses attached, and before we put on the serpentine belt, we have to tighten up the balancer, and this is the special tool to counter hold it. So you can see it sits inside of the balancer, and then we're gonna get a long pipe on it going that away. Then we have our socket on the harmonic balancer bolt and our torque wrench. All right, do a little stretch here. This bolt, I think, needs to be torqued to like something crazy, like 200 foot-pounds or something like that. It's very difficult to do, so we're gonna have a tug of war here. We got Eugene, the Russian, versus Italy. Ready? I won. So that was only 120. I'm doing this in stages, so let's just go ahead and bump it all the way up. All right, ready? Here we go. Oh, okay, it's not that bad. I actually tightened the bolt up with this one first, and apparently I have the feel for roughly 200 foot-pounds because we were almost right there. Okay, with that we have a brand new Mercedes serpentine belt to install. I installed a new tensioner as well. We have a new water pump. We have a new ABC pump. The AC compressor was done about 5 years ago, and the pulleys don't make any noise, so I think we're pretty good. Okay, it's fan time. And these can be a pain in the butt to sneak in with all of these tubes and hoses and whatnot. I was gonna leave this out until after we get it running, but I got confidence. I think we're gonna be fine. I think everything is going to be a-okay. And everything in the front end is pretty fresh, so it should be good. All right, snuck it past some lines here. It's in. It's really not that bad. If you disconnect the trans line on this side, that's a little trick. It'll make it about 500 times easier, guaranteed. Okay, it's time to reconnect the remaining ABC lines, and this is nice. It's just a quick disconnect. All right, there's that one. All right, might as well just wrap up all of this suspension stuff. It'll just take a few minutes, honestly, to do all of this. This came apart so nice. I know there's a lot of salt on this car right now, but that's literally just from my ride from Kansas in February. This car, I believe, lived most of its life in California. All right, these rotors have been in the garage so long, they have surface rust built up on them. But look at these, so nice. Two-piece rotors, these are so expensive. They're brand new, practically brand new. I don't remember if Tyler replaced them or not, but they look nice. These are a couple grand just for the front. And I finally get all my bungee cords back that have been holding up these calipers. There we go. Okay, there we go. The rust was kind of holding it up a little. All right, I'm done with this side and this side. And don't worry, I will be blasting all of that nasty salt off once we get the CL outside. But for now, before we can move this thing outside, we have fluids to take care of, starting off with the power steering fluid. Okay, so we're gonna be using the Pentacin CHF11S. So I have a few of these from Mercedes, and I have some aftermarket stuff. It's all good. And we're going to be using this in the power steering system as well. So back in 05, this had a different kind of power steering fluid. And then, about 10 years ago, Mercedes superseded the power steering fluid just to this. So now you can use this for the ABC and the power steering. And if you guys have an older Mercedes-Benz and you're getting a groaning noise and you've already checked your levels, you could swap it out with Pentacin, and sometimes that helps. Also, make sure that the reservoir filter on a lot of the Mercedes power steering systems isn't clogged up. That'll cause a groaning noise also. Very, very easy and cheap to fix. All right, now it's ABC fluid time. And I think this is gonna take, oh man, probably 5 of these, something like that, maybe more. All right, with that, we are gonna put the cooling system into a vacuum in order to fill it. And this in itself will give us a great idea of whether or not the weld is holding up, because we shouldn't have any leaks at all, so. All right, guys, so bad news. The cooling system is not holding the vacuum. So we pulled that off, and after about 1 minute or so, it went all the way down, and I could hear some noises, some air sucking in type of noises. So let me just show you. So then what I did was pressurize the system just like this. You guys can't hear this, but there is a little bit of coolant dripping on the ground when I pressurize the system. Now, granted, we didn't fill it yet. This is just remnants from before, and it is almost impossible to tell. I mean, it is impossible to tell right now where it's coming from. I've been underneath there for 15 minutes. I had Eugene pressurizing the system. I had coolant pouring on my face. It seems to be coming around the alternator area. This is a water-cooled alternator that unfortunately requires you to either drop the engine or pull the entire subframe. It's a huge job to replace the alternator. There's a hose that goes to the alternator, and then the other side, it just seals right up against the engine block. I've replaced the hose and the seal. When we had the engine out, I replaced everything. And I mean, I couldn't imagine what the issue could be. With the engine out, it's very easy. I mean, I had all the room in the world just to put it on and call it a day. So I don't know if that seal's leaking. I mean, all the bolts are tight. I really don't know. So at this point, I'm going to remove the fan. I may have to take off the secondary air injection pump. I just can't see anything around the alternator. So I have to take a better look at this. Okay, so I've got the coolant reservoir out and the secondary air injection pump out. There is the alternator. There's a bolt there and a bolt there, one on the bottom. They're all tight. Everything looks totally fine, and that is the very frustrating part about this problem is I just don't know where the leak's coming from. I can see coolant coming down, but it hits so many things on the way down that it's very difficult to pinpoint it. Can't see anything from the bottom. The subframe's in the way. The only thing it could be is the seal up against the block. See this water right here on the oil pan? Every once in a while, it'll drip down. Right there. And by the way, I took the hose off the top of the alternator and I filled it with water so that I could recreate the leak. And it is happening. Look at that right there. It just happened again. So that's good news, honestly. That'll help us pinpoint the leak. But I know what you're thinking. Just look in there. Where is it leaking? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, I found the leak. I stuck the borescope in there, and it is leaking where the alternator mounts up to the block right there. Look at that. That makes no sense. There's a brand new seal in there. Why? Oh my gosh. You guys, this is so much work to get this alternator off. I mean, to get it out, forget about it.
All right, I was able to loosen up the alternator. That you can do with it in the car. Getting it out, though, you do have to drop the engine or the subframe. I was able to verify that with my friend at the Mercedes dealer. They just did one a couple weeks ago. From here, all I can do is try and look in there and hope that there's something wrong with the seal. I want a smoking gun at this point. And let me tell you, using a borescope for stuff like this is amazing, because I'd have no other way to look at this seal without it. So there's our black seal. And by the way, here's the footage of me putting this in a few weeks ago. And then we have this behemoth of an alternator. It's water cooled. I think these are like $1,300. So new seal here, new hose right here, and I can't hold this much longer. Seal, you're still good. Alternator, you're still really heavy. Make sure the seal is still on. It is. Yeah, that looks good. Looks good. Good, good. All right, I like that. I suspected no issue whatsoever. I had all the room in the world, and I just plopped it on, and we called it a day. We called it a day. What is going on here, though? That looks like something. That looks like a messed up seal. Yes, it does. The seal is totally cut, right? Okay, here's a better look. Yes. Look at that. What happened? It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Why? Why is it like this? I do not know. Ugh. Well, you know what? I gotta say, though, I'm pretty sure I can sneak this in and replace it. Let's just get it out of here. Let's take a good look at it. Okay, so I can feel around here. I can definitely get the seal out. Gotta be able to feel all the way around this thing. Yeah, okay, all right. I think I can do it. I can get both hands all the way around. Now I just gotta figure out how to pick it out. Okay, there we go. Got it. This is it. This is it. Wow, this is definitely the cause. And here you go. This seal is definitely torn. That is the issue right there. I gotta say, this is my fault, but I'm totally relieved. This could have been way, way worse. And honestly, I can't remember any time where I even questioned this seal. I mean, I put the seal on, and then I looked at it right before I put it in, and then it just, bam, flat up against the block. It makes no sense, but whatever the case may be, we'll never know. This is my fault. This is installer error. This wasn't how the seal was before. Stuff happens, guys. So any of you in the comments that say, Alex, you make everything look so easy, everything goes right all the time. It doesn't. Everybody makes mistakes, and this is mine, and I'll probably hang this somewhere, maybe next to the bad fuel injector that's stuck open. Actually, no, I think I'm gonna run that over in this video. We're gonna run it over once this thing drives out of the garage with an intact cooling system. Okay, so I just got off the phone with the Mercedes-Benz parts department, and guess what? That seal is in Germany, and it's gonna take 2 weeks to get. It was on some kind of back order, and now it's not, and they're expecting some in about 2 weeks. So wonderful, wonderful news. This has been the story of the V12. Hurry up and wait for parts. The heads took 3 months. All I gotta say is I cannot wait to go for a drive in this car after everything is buttoned up, and I know that it's all good, because this is just, you know, I go to sleep every night thinking V12, I gotta do something, I gotta finish this V12, and anyway, all right, it's 2 weeks for me. It's gonna be the next scene for you guys. Well, it's about a week later, and guess what? The alternator seal came in a little bit early, so I sat in traffic for about an hour to go pick it up, and it's the wrong seal. It turns out the correct seal is only 3 days away, and this V12 keeps on fighting me tooth and nail. But we must move on. We must continue on. So I have to wait a few days for that. In the meantime, we got a lot of other stuff we can do, like this front flex disc. So these have already been replaced. They're in excellent condition, so we're gonna go ahead and reuse them. But periodically you should check yours, because they'll develop cracks in the rubber here and eventually can come apart, although that takes a very long time. In any case, let's go ahead and install this. You basically have to just shimmy it in, and this can be a little difficult to get going. There we go. If you can get one in there. Once it's snapped onto the drive shaft, you can usually take a pry bar, kind of pull it back. And we're just gonna go ahead and push it into place like that. Okay, cool. Make sure the transmission is in neutral. And now we'll start installing the 8 gigantic bolts that hold this thing in. I like to get them all started first. Don't go zipping them in just yet, just to make sure all the holes line up perfectly. You know what? This is a lot easier if you remove this bracket. Just 4 bolts. All right, look at all the room we've just gained. Now we have access to the bottom to tighten up these nuts. All right, and we'll tighten these guys up by hand. Last one, and the flex disc is done. All right, we'll get this transmount bracket back on. I cleaned it up a little bit. Spending less and less time cleaning parts that people aren't gonna see because I just want this thing to run. A little zippity-doo. And zippity-doo with the right size. Okay, next we have the trans mount, and we can't forget this big ground wire here. Next up we have the exhaust bracket. It's kind of a little sandwich plate with some rubber in there to isolate the exhaust, so you have a nice rattle-free exhaust system. And it's pretty much the same on a $40,000 CLK of the time, or this $185,000 CL65. I believe that was the sticker on this guy. But I only paid $10,000, mostly because of depreciation, but also because of our expensive oil leak that is now fixed. And I'm gonna get this transmission crossmember on and our level set before we tighten up the exhaust. And we're done. No, we're not done. All right, then we tighten these bolts last. Okay, all done. Is that seal in yet? Well, it's 3 days later and bam, we have new alternator seals. Now the alternator only takes 1 of these seals, but I ordered 2 just in case. Now all I have to do is sneak one of these guys into there. Yeah. Okay, so I'm using the Mercedes lube here on the seal. And at this point, I'm out of gloves. I don't care. We're lubing this thing up just like I did last time, and it should go on there perfectly, just like last time. Okay, this was actually really easy. It took me about 2 minutes, and I can feel all the way around the seal, and it feels good. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and bolt this alternator up, and we'll get right to the pressure test. All right, here we go. Going. Oh no. No! Oh wait, never mind. I forgot to tighten this clamp up because I loosened it to take the fan out. Haha! All right, take 2 or 3 or 4, whatever. Let's do this. The needle's not moving, yes! Yes! We are at 27. All right, here we go. Fill engine, yes. Now you gotta monitor your levels here. We're using factory Mercedes coolant, of course. Don't want to run dry though and suck any air in there. We're at minus 23 right now. It's getting low. Shut her down. Okay, just filled that back up with water. We're doing a 50-50 mix, and it is filling up nicely. Guys, get yourselves one of these tools, at least a pressure testing kit. Before you fill anything up with coolant, before you waste it all over the ground if you have a leak, put it into a vacuum. This makes filling it 1,000,000 times easier. All right, coolant is full. Airbox going in, and let's just pretend that that whole thing didn't happen. All right, next up is the intercooler system. It seems to be holding vacuum perfectly. Now this system can be kind of a pain to bleed. There is a special tool from Mercedes, and there's a couple of Schrader valves up top that you can use, but we're just gonna hope for the best. I've done this before. It just takes a little bit of patience to get all the air out. And there we go. All right, guys, so I just installed the fan, and I pulled the fuel pump fuse and relieved the pressure in the rail. I want to crank this thing and get the power steering fluid and the ABC fluid moving without starting the engine. So let's do that. start on me, don't start on me. So both fluids definitely went down. I had turned the wheel lock to lock before that. So now I'm gonna top that up. We'll pop the fuse back in and let's just go ahead and run it. Fire in the hole. Okay, so far so good. I just let it run for maybe like 20 seconds. I'm gonna lift it up, make sure we don't have any leaks or anything like that. And let's get some wheels on. Let's see what's going on with bleeding the ABC system. That might be a little bit of a bear to do, but I do have a computer. We should be able to do a rodeo with this thing, which is kind of cool if you haven't seen that. All right, we are A-okay, no leaks whatsoever. Everything is bone dry, so we're ready to continue with some wheels. And yes, this hose just kind of lays there once you put your panels on. It rests on there with these rubber things. It's kind of weird. All right, let's see if this thing is gonna slam. Sometimes the struts retain. No, this is gonna slam. Okay, let's start it up, see if we can get this guy to raise. Okay, with the car running, I press the button a few times. Let's see if it'll do its thing. Come on, raise up. Okay, so right now the ABC fluid is not going down at all, and that's probably because we have air in the system. So what I'm gonna do is I have my friend in the car. He's gonna give it a little bit of RPM while I slightly pressurize the tank to try and force the fluid in there. And we're gonna be pressing the up and down button at the same time. So kind of a three-step approach. All right, Eugene, whenever you're ready, just rev it and then hit those buttons. Aha! Empty dipstick. That's a good sign. That means some fluid went through. Oh yeah, it's totally empty now. So we must have pushed past an air bubble and we got some of the fluid to go in. Oh, it's drinking it. It's drinking it now. Give it some revs and press the button. All right, I've cleared the codes and put the car at a proper level with the lift, hoping that maybe that will open up some valves and make this system work. It could just be completely locked out right now. Go ahead and start it up. All right, just give it the revs. No, nothing. It's not going down at all.
All right, guys, it's the next day, and I cannot get the ABC hydraulic suspension to work at all. I have been messing with this for probably 5 hours, tracing all the lines back. Everything looks great. We have pressure right here, 3,000 PSI. It doesn't even code up for anything, so this is just out of control, out of control. The only thing I can find is that I'm not getting fluid out of this line. So this is the line directly off the pump that feeds this junction box, and then these two lines split off, go to some T's over there, and then they spread the fluid to each four corners eventually. The only thing I can see is we're not getting fluid out of this one, and it's kind of hard to tell, but there's a spool valve right here, and it doesn't look to be fully open. So I already kind of tapped on this with a hammer, and it's not doing anything. I wonder if this spool valve is just totally stuck. We get plenty of fluid out of this guy. I could take this line off right now, but we'll get a ton of fluid out of here. I might have to do that because I want to see what it looks like. Okay, this has to be the issue. This side that we're getting fluid out of is wide open. This one is not, and I know it's hard to see in the reflection, but it's not completely blocked. Okay, it's like halfway blocked. See that little moon shape in there? That is the spool valve that is just kind of partially open. Still an issue, so we need to figure that out. Now it looks like I can just turn this, but these aren't really meant to be messed with, and they're $700. This valve block is $700. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do right now, but I think this has gotta be the issue. Oh, and that is not ABC fluid. That is mostly engine oil. That's why it's black. All right, well, it turns out this is normal. Here is a picture of a brand new one sitting at the dealer right now for $1,000. And as you can see, it's exactly the same. So I really thought this was the smoking gun. Kind of back to square one here. All right, guys, I think I have no choice but to take this apart and see if I can find something stuck in here and fix it, or I have to spend $1,000 on a new one of these. This isn't that difficult. That line is the pressure directly from the pump. It splits off into these two. One of those lines goes to this T, the other one goes to the bottom of this, and then they split off into the front and in the back. These are 4 individual solenoids for each strut. I can activate these electronically. They all work. I don't think we're getting proper pressure or any pressure to the main valve block, so it can't distribute any fluid to the struts.
Okay, here goes nothing. Okay, hearing a bunch of air. Okay. Okay. Did you guys hear that? I hope you heard that. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this back. Did we maybe break something free just by moving that around? There's a pressure reservoir here, so it's still under some pressure. Did it just send it that way? It sounded like a valve open and closed. I don't know. Let's try it. All right, guys, the engine is running. That didn't actually do anything. It still won't raise the car up, but listen to this hissing noise. So this thing is hissing right now. I'm gonna try and turn this with it running. But first, I gotta say, this entire program is for entertainment purposes only. Guys, don't mess with ABC suspension. It's 3,000 PSI of pressure. You're not supposed to crack lines with it running. I'm going to. Don't do this at home. Oh, are you kidding me? Did you guys hear that? It's like we just turned on a faucet or opened a valve. The hissing is gone, and it's like it sent fluid that way. This is crazy. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off. Turn it back on. Still not doing anything. Still not doing anything at all. Why? Why? Raise. Do something. Dude, this thing is slammed. It is not moving up at all.
Well, unfortunately, there's not too much to see here, and these do have to be screwed in all the way. There's no adjustment whatsoever. It's possible one or both of these is bad, but there's no debris in there. No smoking gun right now. So by me moving this larger one, I must have just changed the flow. This is a pressure relief valve. So, I don't know. It didn't do anything, though. All right, guys, here we go. I just took about a 2-hour drive to a friend's house. He had one of these in his basement for like at least 10 years. He used to have an S600. It's a different part number. I just think it's been superseded a bunch of times. But anyway, I'm going to try this because it's $1,000 at the dealer, and then I won't be able to return it. And when I moved this big valve, we were getting fluid that would go up front. It didn't actually fix anything, but you never know. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bolt this in.
All right, guys, here we go. Do something, please. Come on. Pressing the button right now. I don't think it's doing anything. Wonderful. Wonderful. What could this be? This makes no sense. We have 3,000 PSI of pressure at that block, which has the sensor in it. This is insane. All right, guys, I am done. I am done. It's the next day again. As you can see, the car is still slammed. And I've tried everything. I had my friend over yesterday, 20-year Mercedes-Benz Master Certified Dealer Technician. We looked over the entire car together. Still couldn't figure it out. I posted my issue on Instagram and on Facebook at LegitStreetCars, and I got about 30 emails from people all around the world, Mercedes-Benz Master Technicians, willing to help. So thank you guys so much. This community is amazing. So a lot of the suggestions we've already tried, but I did get some new ones, and I've already started filming the next video. You'll see in that video I'll look just like this because I've been up since really early in the morning trying out these suggestions, and we're going to figure this out together in the next video. This car will rise up and we will drive it finally. So thank you so much for everybody who stuck around during the last 8 months of this V12 project. Well, like 4 of those months I was waiting for parts. But this thing is just, it's fighting me, but I'm not gonna give up. I'm not converting it to coils like people have mentioned. Even if I was gonna do that, I couldn't live with myself if I didn't figure this problem out. So we will get it in the next video, and I hope you guys are there with me. So thanks again for everybody watching this one. Give this video a big thumbs up. If you enjoyed this complete madness of a video, hit the thumbs up button. It really helps. Share the video, subscribe if you're new, and most importantly, I hope you have a much better 2 weeks. And next 2 weeks, I don't know what this car has in store for me, but I hope you guys are doing much better than me. And with that, I'll see all of you in the next video.
And don't forget to get out there and go fishing by downloading Fishing Clash using my link in the video description box.